Okay, so looking at today's stuff. Today, the arithmetic on today's stuff is exactly what it was last class. Okay, it's just that these are application problems, so we're going to actually make the equation and then we'll solve it. But it's the same process on all of it. So if you look at the very top of the paper, if you kind of follow this blueprint, this is going to take care of probably 90% of the application problems that you're going to see. So it's always going to be absolute value of x minus the ideal whatever. Okay, it's going to talk about length, the ideal weight, the ideal temperature, the ideal whatever it's talking about. Then it's going to be less than or equal to the difference allowed. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through an example, and I just want you to listen because it's not this first problem up here. I'm just going to talk about it. So let's say you got a problem where Cheerios company, the ideal weight for their box of cereal is 16, but they allow a difference of 0.2 ounces. So you would set it up, so x minus the ideal is less than or equal to 0.2. And then you're going to solve that exactly the way we solved it last class. Now, a lot of times you can step back from these problems, probably these problems more than most application problems we're going to see this year. And you can probably solve that by just using common sense. Okay? So, the ideal weight is 16 ounces. They allow a 0.2 ounce different on either side. So what is the heaviest box of cereal that they're going to make? 16.2. What's the lightest box they're going to make? 15.8. So the range of weights that they're going to allow to go to the grocery stores or whatever is anywhere between 15.8 to 16.2. All right, so don't get so caught up in the math on this that you, like I said, you might just be able to take a step back and solve it just by using common sense. Okay? Let's go ahead and start working through some of these examples. On the first one, talking about pudding, it was produced at a factory, must be 120 grams in weight with a tolerance of 5 grams. Puddings that are not within the tolerated weights must be thrown away. Which of the following inequalities represent that? So what is the ideal weight? 120. So x minus, absolute value of x minus 120 is less than or equal to what? 5. It's always less than or equal to. And it's always minus. So I had a question last class that was pretty good. Okay, what is x representing? So what x is representing is, in this example, x is representing any cup of pudding that I pick up and I put on the scale and weigh. Okay? So I take this cup of pudding, I put it on the scale. Okay, it reads 123. That's within the range, so that one's good. I pick this one up. I weigh it. It weighs 114. That is not within the scale, within the range, so that one does not work. Okay, so x is just representing any cup of pudding that I weigh. I take its weight and the difference between the ideal weight, and the absolute value of that has to be less than or equal to 5. Alright. Going to 2, says a machine at a lumber mill cuts boards that are 3.25 meters long. Acceptable lengths cut must be within 0.02 meters of 3.25. So L, inside the absolute value, I'm going to have x minus what? Okay. Is less than or equal to what? Okay. And now I'm just going to take that and I'm going to solve it. Okay, so I'm going to have x minus 3.25. And then on the one that I have positive 0.02, freebie, what is the inequality going to be? No, what is the what's this inequality going to be right here? Okay. So I'll take that. I'll add 3.25. So that's going to give me 3.27. Yeah. All right, and then I'm going to have x minus 3.25. Then Alex, the one that's going to have negative 0.02. What is that inequality going to be?
X is greater than or equal to.
Okay. Then whenever I add that, I'm going to have x is greater than or equal to 3.23. Now, if what I have up there in blue, if you write this down and it's a free response, you're absolutely correct. Okay, but I don't want you to, if it's multiple choice, your answer may look different. So you need to know how it could possibly look on A, B, C, or D. Because I don't want you to do it correctly and you don't see your answer and you either go back and you try to do it a different way and probably do it wrong, or you just guess. Okay, because this is saying that the length, it is somewhere between 3.23 and 3.27. All right, this is saying the exact same thing as those two. So looking at now number 3. A candy manufacturer puts 240 pieces of candy into each bag. A bag can be off by as much as 8 pieces. Sutton, what is that inequality going to be?
X minus 240 is less than or equal to 8.
Awesome. And then it says to solve and then to also graph the acceptable ranges on the number line. So I'll take x minus 240. Then, Jake, if I put less than or equal to, does this 8 right here, does that need to be positive 8 or negative 8?
Positive 8?
Positive, why?
How are you supposed to have negative 8 pieces?
Wrong. Somebody tell me why that has to be positive 8.
Because it's the top one first.
Because it's the same sign as what's in the original problem. So I'll add 240. And then Noel, if I have x minus 240 is greater than or equal to, awesome. I add 240. Whenever you're doing the number line, okay, don't overcomplicate it. Your lower value is going to be on the left. Your higher value is going to be on the right. You can still use those inequalities, kind of like what we talked about last time, as arrows to tell you which way to shade. Both arrows are pointed in. So I would shade in there. If you want to draw the V, you can.
Jeez, sorry. Oh my gosh. No, I just remember being in like fifth grade and like scared from it. And then
learning this now. What are we learning?
so in like elementary school, you're scared from middle school.
Coach Howard.
Every college is.
My classes are like learn psychology. Wait, the counselors that like change the classes?
Yes.
They do that too?
What?
Your counselor? No!
I did it.
She said.
Oh my god. You're the worst. No, I'm kidding.
Nope. Only that's the one I. But you said 41,090.